Anyways, Parting versus Trigger. Two guys in Korea right now. Obviously, I think Parting kind of overshadows Trigger just as far as, history and accomplishments. But Trigger's a really good player. He's very scary. I would not count him out. I feel like the landscape is shifting very quickly here in Battle Aces. And, yeah, let's see what happens. Best of 7. The winner will go up against Percival in the finals of the Tassel Tussle.
Dude. Oh, all right. It's Wasp with Blink coming out again from Parting. So we'll get this little interesting flex pick coming out yet again. Whereas Trigger's just going to be sitting on the Blinks. So we'll see if he's able to defend the Wasp Blink a little bit better than some of the other players have so far.
Okay. For now, the Wasp's accumulating outside here. Trigger, it's going to be a bit of a slow start here.
I was going to say, I was kind of finding it interesting that Parting's actually running Heavy Hunters. I feel like we haven't really seen Heavy Hunters.
I'm actually so glad you pointed that out. I wasn't looking. I kind of assumed that
he did this one of the other series too, and I feel like Heavy Hunters were actually so broken when they in the first phase, and everyone was running them earlier.
Yeah.
But then they got
you
changed
could
a little
pair
bit.
them with mortars and you just wouldn't die.
Yeah, they changed them a little bit, but haven't really been used much since then. But Parting actually still throwing them in his deck is kind of interesting. So I'm curious to see if that ends up playing out. Well, we're going to go into the mineral line as just honestly evaporating it pretty quickly with a lot of the Blinks not actually able to trade that well versus the Wasps. I feel like that was way more damage than Parting should have been able to get there. It was like almost the whole worker line.
Yeah, kind of crazy to see him get in there and get that much damage off. Meanwhile, the third is going to start to have it populated with workers soon. Nobody has started a definitive tech path yet. It's Tier 1 versus Tier 1. Blink Wasp versus Blink Hunter. So I do think Blink Wasp is going to be basically better than Blink Hunter. So I do feel like this really kind of forces you to be very defensive. Would you agree with that? Is there a way that you could kind of overwhelm them if you're both on Tier 1 tech with Wasp Blink?
I feel like the Wasp Blink could find an opening if the other player is not paying attention properly. But you have no real room as the Blink Hunter guy to be able to actually do anything. You're fully on the defensive in this scenario. And you can see Parting just trying to shove it into the third base where half of the army is situated. You can see Trigger is kind of having a hard time moving his units in position to be able to defend against this as they got stuck in an awkward position trying to defend into the natural as well, but not actually needing to go there. A lot of the Wasps getting killed off, which will actually force Parting back. Only half damage done onto the core. And that actually was a pretty good defense, all things considered, from Trigger.
So the counter plays here. Trigger wants to try to put some pressure on. Parting, at this point in time, drinking in so many more resources because his workers have gone untouched. The edge of being the player with the Wasp in the deck. A small counterattack's getting set up here in the south. Looks like there is a spotter Blink or Blink Hunter. Yep.
Oh, it's just
the
skirting
blind
the
spot.
edge.
Oh,
did he actually see it? I think he did. Okay, he sees it now. We'll be able to respawn just in time. That would have been insane if he actually got it through. Big attack going into the third base as well, trying to jump on top of everything. The Blinks doing pretty decently by themselves, actually. The Wasps just getting absolutely evaporated here. The Blink line of Parting gonna get blinked on as well. Trigger doing an excellent job on this defense.
This is insane. I mean, he's going to be able to push across the map now, right?
Surely. I mean, that's the other good thing with Blinks is that you can snowball it a little bit with the actual bonus movement speed and the forward blink potential. So you can very easily just get right across the map. But I don't necessarily think that Trigger has to, because there's still no tech from either player. He's been winning all of these engagements so hard leading up to this. His army's only going to get bigger at this point. So there's actually no real reason for him to go for such an aggressive move just yet, waiting to just get a bigger army, and he's going to actually go for it just now. And this is going to be, I think, very difficult for Parting to hold.
Parting's been floating 3K blue right now. But, I mean, I don't know what he can spend it on exactly to fix the situation.
He literally can't. None of these things cost it.
Yeah. Well, he was never able to tech up. I think Trigger's going to close this game out here. Wow, dude. GG.
Nice. 0 tech unneeded as Trigger is able to find a first game victory.
Trigger played a really good game. It seemed like Parting, he had some momentum there. He was looking pretty good. And, eventually it didn't pan out. Kind of weird how his resources got so heavily... is it blue called energy, or do we know what it's called yet?
I have no idea, but I found it so funny when we said we
the,
called
the,
it
the
David
red, the
Kim.
red source is David, and the blue resource is Kim.
That's what I keep thinking in my head.
He had too much Kim.
Too much Kim, not
Too
enough
much Kim,
David.
yeah.
Who am I letting parting and
You got to
Trigger?
spend your David and your Kim correctly.
It's matter and energy.
Yeah.
No,
All Kim,
it's,
no David.
It's David and Kim. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Chat, you guys don't
Chat's
understand.
like, red is matter. I'm like, you guys.
You know what
don't know
matters?
anything about this game at all.
It's the fact that it's made by David Kim. That's what matters.
That's. Wait to tell him, Jim.
Thank you. No problem. I'm in control of the stream.
I can't believe Trigger won that first game. This is quite the upset. And now we're going to go into game 2. See? Think I'd lie to you? Didn't believe me?
Everyone believes
Everyone.
you.
Well, just in case they didn't, now they know. We are going into some recalls here for Parting. This is the same composition from the last game here for Trigger?
Trigger, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember every unit, but I think it's the same exact deck. Yeah.
Is
Parting
Trigger
is
number
switching
1
up.
on Ladder Rainbow? I didn't know that.
He is, yeah.
I stand corrected. I had no idea.
He's at like 10K plus. It's crazy.
Well, it makes sense with how his games are going here. All right, so Blinks in 2 different directions, 3 on each side, are going to try to come back here. Remember that I think Blinks, they can kind of hang versus recalls.
A little bit if
Yeah.
you micro them, but once the recalls actually get on top, then they will start to trade much better. So you have to be very, very careful with the Blinks. You can get in, get some nice damage, try to get a little poking here and there, and the mobility will help them to trade better. But if you just want to do a straight-up engagement, you're definitely going to be favoring the recalls. Also teching straight into Mammoth and Butterfly as Trigger on 2 base, whereas Parting going for the fast 3rd. So we'll see if we can find any timing windows where Parting will be techless.
Well, he's continuing to put this pressure on here. Trigger is going to be coming in with Mammoths, I think, in a second, with the option of Butterflies as well. Obviously, for those uninitiated, recalls don't shoot up, Blinks don't shoot up. You need recall hunters or blink hunters. I think a lot of people learn that the hard way. You see something with a gun, you just assume, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Surely.
Just look up.
Yeah, just
Are you
lay on your
stupid?
back and fire up.
All right, here come the Mammoths. Going to try to break down this 3rd base as best they can. Also going to section off these Blinks to try and do some harassment on the left and try to force a recall. And it will force every single unit to recall. And then we can just blink away and then just get all of our other units right on top here. The other recall is not quite enough in number, but the rest of the... Okay, there we go. Getting everything in together. We'll try to defend against this. The focus fire onto the Mammoths can be pretty decent with the recalls, but as you can see, eventually you'll have to actually fight the Blinks too, and then it can get a little bit awkward, but the DPS still very good. And now the advanced recalls coming in, this is going to start to swing for Parting.
Yeah, I think so. Those advanced recalls are a little bit slow, but it's going to make a situation where Trigger's going to have to try to kite as best he can.
Yeah, the advanced recalls honestly are actually pretty good in the actual straight-up engagements. They shoot very fast, I believe, so they actually can DPS pretty quickly. You can see they got the little double pistol things, so they deal a lot of damage very quickly. And we do have a Butterfly, actually, so there's a single Butterfly tickling these units with no anti-air available to them.
Yeah, it's funny. I've seen this a couple times here, just one Butterfly. One Butterfly is enough, especially when things are this tight on both sides. One Butterfly can just do enough damage that it kind of swings the fight.
Yeah, or it at least forces them to go away, and you don't really have to invest that much in the defense. You just put one out there, and then it's forcing them all the way back home, and now you've saved all of your Kim to be able to buy something else later.
I just read there's Butterfly versus Hunter fight in the center. I didn't see that.
Where?
Oh, just DeWalt said in chat. I just noticed that over there.
Oh.
It's still 2 base versus 3 base. Here's one Butterfly.
Here I am. See, is this annoying? Come look at me, please.
It's
Don't-
funny
don't
how much
defend.
this little like kind of cove area of high ground is used for the flying units.
Yeah. I quite like the map, honestly. I never feel like I'm complaining about maps in StarCraft all the time, but I've never complained about this map.
Yeah, it's a pretty well designed map. I'm curious if they're gonna have more or just this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the time being, it just seems like Trigger wants to try to press in somewhere and do some kind of damage. He's not really able to do it. I mean, all Parting has to do is basically sit. It's 172 supply to 96 for some perspective, with Parting massively in the lead right now.
Yeah, this...
To the point, I don't think Parting needs to do anything other than just run the clock.
Yeah, I also just realized that Trigger is on 2 bases this entire
Yeah.
time. And his opponent has a bigger army than him. And a 3rd base. Like, Parting is winning in every situation.
Up at the top, we've got a lot of butterflies coming through here. This may be the Hail Mary play from Trigger to try to make something work. It's going to get spotted by the 1 spotter recall right out there.
Well, this is actually kind of decent because this is actually not scouted, I think. I don't think he actually saw it. These butterflies, they kill bases so fast. It's like really deceiving how quickly they kill these things. They don't look like they should do a lot of damage. And even in the past beta, they also didn't really do that much. But now they are anti-big. And so they just absolutely annihilate them. It's actually insane. So now it's on an equal base count.
And the thing is, you can just get to this point where you have so many, you kind of strong arm them in the fight, you know?
Mm-hmm. This was kind of unexpected here because there's only a few recall hunters here. Not ready to deal with that initially. We'll be able to potentially sneak them away to get over to the second base.
Not only that, I mean, even if recall hunters, can be good versus butterflies, if you just have enough, you can win the fight so quickly because of how much damage they do. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. They're so slow. They're trying to chase. Come back here. I will kill you eventually.
Recall hunters, it's pretty rough, man. They are pretty bad at at chasing stuff. Like, you can kind of just always choose to not engage with that.
Oh my god. Absolutely everything getting recalled to defend against this.
If the game, we may end up with our first game that finishes on time and not on someone conceding or getting their main structure killed. But if you lose on time, it's because they mine more resources.
And also it depends on units killed. Actually, also gets added into that. So yeah. Overall, Parting.
But I mean, Parting would win that.
Yeah.
Parting's
in the lead
throwing down 5 bases here, just being like, I don't care.
Oh, that's so sick. He did that so that he could just recall around with his hunters. That's so crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I love that. He just gets a forward recall point. That's so interesting. And then he can just go right here. That's awesome.
Ooh,
oh my god, that died
up?
fast. Well. Oh, and he just recalls to a spot that's still in the middle of the map. I love that.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
It's like he uses his base as a launching pad, effectively.
Yeah, this is so sick. And then he can just come right back home. Boom. You can't defend. You can't attack me.
2 minutes and 45 seconds left here.
Wank.
Butterflies are doing some work, but, Parting's...
Is he gonna kill both of these? I think he
I think he will, yeah. Oh, well, hold on.
Oh, that's a lot of recall hunters now. We do have a lot out of Parting. His army supply is pretty big, but Trigger's is actually bigger. What is it in? How much do these butterflies cost in supply? I feel like that has to be where all the supply is.
Does it say?
No, not on here. It does in the game, but yeah, I mean, his army is gigantic, but it feels like Parting's army has been the bigger army this entire time. Oh my god, this fight is happening on such a large amount of the screen over here. We're just going back and forth, bouncing between these 2 bases. The recall is just going out non-stop here. Just going to be constant butterflies and constant blanks. And finally, we're going to have an engagement. All the recall is getting on top of this army from Trigger as he's trying to just go back and forth continuously, trying to find any opening that he can. But the recall cooldown is so low that it's very easy for Parting to just keep going back and forth.
Parting has just put himself in such a comfortable spot here. It's kind of incredible, but I'm still blown away at what Trigger's been able to do back here. I think this should be the final moments here of the game, as finally the entire army here of Trigger is going to get flattened. Parting's still at 150 supply. There it is. GG. Great game, Parting. Definitely reasserting his dominance there. Tying this up 1-1 in this best of 7.
Yeah, it was. It looked a little deceiving. I think the army supplies, because I feel like it is the butterflies that are just. They're flying high.
5 supply.
5 supply though. Yeah, okay, that makes so much. Wow, I had no idea they were that expensive.
How much is a cat bus?
Let us knock them over.
10 supply?
Wow. How much are recalls? Yeah, only 2.
2
okay.
supply.
Yeah. So yeah, the number was definitely the soup.
What
was
does the
lying.
recall at? 2 supply.
Yeah.
We hunt together.
2 supply. Okay. I've never actually checked the supplies on any of these.
Ace is just like clicking. Oh,
Oh.
3 supply.
Let's click on
Oh,
each of the units in the game before we start game
6
3.
supply. Oh. 5 supply.
This is fun. This is fun. We're going into game 3 now. This best of 7. Remember that Percival waits the victor between these two. And what we thought would be a one-sided match here. We thought Party would probably dominate. He did dominate in the last game, but Trigger did take game number 1. Trigger currently ranked at the top of the ladder, looking pretty fearsome. We're waiting for Party to join our game now.
And there he is.
And there he is, beautiful Party. One of my favorite pro gamers in the whole world.
He's so funny.
He's a lot of fun to hang out with. You know, it's funny, when you get pro gamers, there really isn't like a certain personality or archetype other than a person who's willing to just sit down and grind out a game for very long. But Party's actually a lot of fun to hang out with. Very funny, very smart.
Very quick-witted, even in a different language, I would say.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's just like one of those guys that just kind of understands comedy. He just kind of understands comedic timing and things. And
He
stuff,
does,
even
yeah.
on his stream and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He just kind of does things that others don't. All I can remember is that one time when he got a Twitch chatter pointing out the roll of toilet paper behind him, and then he just kind of blankly stares and laughs and doesn't even say a word, and then just
Moving on.
walks away, walks over and throws it off camera, and then comes back to his PC.
So this game, it's Blink versus Recall again, parting with Recalls. And, I mean, it's going to be a game where that Tier 2 tech from Trigger is going to come here. It's going to be Crusaders and Shockers. And right now, it's just about parting, you know, trying to keep as much of his resources safe and protected. The Blink player can basically always try to outmaneuver the Recall player. And he might have just done that here. He's going to come in here and do a decent amount, probably taking off about 10% of the HP on this expansion. And then maybe try to set up the same maneuver again.
I do like that we do have a Shocker transition coming out of Trigger. I feel like we have not seen a lot of Shockers in any of these games, actually. And I feel like all the Shocker units are very good. Recall Shockers, I think, are really good. Just regular Shockers are good. Swift Shockers are also very good. And versus all these players that are going for such high core armies, like they're getting so many core units, I feel like we should just be going for a lot of Shocker-type units, and that is exactly what we have coming out of Trigger, so I'm very curious to see how well this is able to do against Parting. Also, a couple of Crusaders in the front to help kind of just have a nice little front beefy line here to make it really difficult for the Recalls to get close.
Oh, I love the microing of the Crusader away. It's so good. And Trigger's going to be able to shut down the space. I think this push has completely succeeded. Will he throw down an expansion of his own? Meanwhile, Parting teching into optional Dragonflies and advanced Recalls here.
Which is interesting because, of course, the Shockers are going to be totally fine against the advanced Recalls as well. It's going to have to be Dragonflies, and there they do go. So it's going to be needing to get some Blink Hunters separated, and there they do run away over to the natural, as that's the most, the most likely spot, not into the middle of the clouds, but over here into the natural base, and those Blink Hunters will meet them, and we'll be able to shoot them away. Some damage getting done pretty decently onto that worker line, but not such game-ending damage just yet from those Dragonflies. I'm very wanting to see how these Shockers end up continuing to do in these main engagements, because I really like this play, but it's a fast cat bus transition as well coming from Parting.
The old cat bus coming in here again. A great way to try to turtle on 2 bases and tech into something that they may not have a solution for in a little bit. The Dragonflies are going to come through here and just mow down so many of these important units. Dragonflies are so fast, and so, you know, these slower units, I have a hard time catching up. The recalls are going to wrap around here from the bottom. A lot of workers have been killed off, going up into the main now. Look at this setup here from Parting. I mean, he's just hitting so many spots at once.
Yeah, I do love that he used those to target down the
No way.
shockers.
This does not
is he
work, right?
actually going to get this?
No, is this a win more move?
Oh my god.
It's
He's
not going to work.
Gonna get
He's not going to get it. He's not going to. No!
Oh, Parting. Oh no. That was a miscalculation.
Well,
I mean, here's some cat buses.
all right. It's okay. He's got cat buses.
Would have been way better if he got that core.
4 cat buses might be the number, by the way, where you can like really do a lot of
Yeah.
damage with this. The problem is that he would have been in such a better spot if he had just not used those recalls to do that.
Yeah, he could have just recalled back home at any point and just
Yeah.
had a whole army of recalls with these cat buses, but instead he's got none.
Oh my god, that's... Oh, run. Yeah, now one thing about cat buses is they're not going to be good at getting away against blinks.
It's actually deceiving because it's hard to see exactly how many blink hunters and just regular blinks there are.
That's one thing with this game I have a hard time telling when I'm in fights is I'm like, I know that blink hunters are down there.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many there are.
Yeah. They do look quite
Yeah,
similar.
now you can see they're separated from the group, so it's obvious.
Yeah, they have the little ring circles.
They got little
on them.
halos.
Yeah. I guess they have, these ones have 2, the blink hunters only have 1.
Oh
some
my
blinks
god.
around. Gonna get on top of these recalls, kill them all off. The game is over. Nice.
All right. Well, that game, a bit more of a parable about doing win more moves than anything else. We did have the attack there from Parting, I think initially looking so good, and then he just kind of threw everything onto the second base. Now, look, maybe he would have lost that game anyways, but
I don't know if he would have, because I feel like if you just have the recalls with the cat buses, then they can't just
Yeah.
get jumped on that easily, and you
Well,
have a little bit more leeway.
the cat buses are good because they can be microed pretty easily. I guess maybe blinks are probably the best at microing against them. But then if you have recalls underneath them, you know, it's one of these death ball armies where, like, you know, the air units are doing their job and the ground units below it are covering them, and it makes it pretty easy to win.
Yeah.
So that is 2-1 then, Trigger, right? 2-1 right now versus Parting.
Yes, that is correct.
And we're going to confirm that Parting's ready to go.
And they are.
For those of you who are new to the channel, please follow. We'll be doing more content like this down the road at the Tassel Tussle Trois. Oh, no,
Do.
Sorry.
We're not at Trois just yet.
Tassel Tussle Cinco. Now, this game, it's going to be Recalls and Wasps. We saw this before. Versus Blink Hunter. Now, we've had 2 different styles with Recall Wasp. We've had it where you go for 2 base and tech up, but we've also had it where you go for 3 base and just keep pushing, which I really like the 3 base push. I don't know how strong it is exactly versus Blink, because I guess Blink makes the position a little bit slippery. Like, they can just kind of blink away, and you may be overextended. But let's see how he approaches this. One of the best parts about casting a game that's new like this is I get to basically just look at people 10 times better than me and kind of try to figure out their thought process and how they're approaching this.
Yep.
So it is a third base. Will this be a push, or does he tech behind it?
From which side are you asking?
I was looking at a Parting side. I guess
okay.
no matter what, he can tech because he's not going to be spending blue on anything, come to think of it.
Yeah. I guess, let's see. I wonder what he's going to go for. I feel like we're going to just keep going into the Starforge. I feel like, yeah. I don't think he wants to be going into the Foundry battles here. He's even just expanding again, not teching just yet. So he's
Damn,
really
you know, I
just
feel
going to
like
sit
we
on this.
never see people tech. Or sorry, triple exfil before tech. That's wild.
Yeah.
But I guess, you know, he saw Trigger hadn't done anything yet. Trigger has started Destroyer Mortar. Destroyer Mortar is an extremely common composition. So that's, you know, not shocking. Going for that Foundry tech. Parting has gone for Starforge, so he has Dragonfly and Advanced Recalls.
Yeah, I'm still so curious what these advanced recalls are actually doing. We can see that they do kind of swing the fights pretty decently just in some straight-up engagements, and they can kill the bases quite quickly, so still kind of learning exactly how well those do in the actual fights. I feel like they're not You're not going to be able to jump on a bunch of mortars, though, with them. And I feel like he also is doing this just so he can get to cap buses as well, I think, is the bigger thing. I wouldn't actually be surprised if he just super techs right into cap buses right away.
He's going to try to move in now. And this is that push I was talking about. Came a little bit later than I expected, but the kind of recall wasp push. But the wasps are gone. When the wasps go away, so do the recalls. They need to pull back home. He does drive that back. You know, it always seemed like with the way this game was developing, a push from the mortars was going to be an inevitability. I see 2 mortars. I've heard a lot of people say that, you know, 3 it seems to be a great number to have. Usually after that, there's destroyers, but I don't think he wants to make them this time around because dragonflies are in the map. The dragonflies have come through here. They could even target down these mortars.
The blink forward, though, from the blink hunters trying to get on top of them to save the mortars. Will trade out all the dragonflies for the mortars. Is this actually a decent play from Parting? He's left with very little on the ground. The recall advanced recall is trying to come in to defend. Is it actually enough?
Dude, advanced recalls are so good. I do not understand this unit.
Yeah, they're actually getting so much damage done.
They don't look tough at all, by the way.
They don't do bonus damage versus core units either, which is the crazy thing. So you're expecting them just to do normal damage, but they just actually rip through everything. I thought Party was about to just instantly lose when all the dragonflies suicided.
I thought the same thing. All right, he's going to have the mortar siege up over here. Now remember that even if this base is killed, they're going to be even on bases.
I think Parting's still in a pretty rough spot because obviously then his dragonfly attempt didn't fully work because he doesn't have any left over now. So now the reinforcing mortars are not able to get jumped on at all. He doesn't have any way to easily get on top of them. He's going to try to trade a base and then recall back home. But this army from... Surely this army is too big from Trigger. But he's going to focus down the mortars. And now the advanced recall is still holding their own. I'm still just so surprised at how good these units are.
Yeah. It's crazy, too, because they're very slow to push.
Trying to get a blink forward from Trigger to get on top of everything. We'll be able to kill off some of these, trying to focus down the advanced recalls as well. Very nice move from him. And now it's basically only the advanced recalls. Look how fast they shoot. Now I'm kind of understanding how they deal with that damage. When I saw it just being them shoot, kind of makes sense. Unfortunately, the numbers are not quite there now.
It's because they got a gun in each hand.
Yeah, man. Double the guns, double the power. Ooh.
You know when you're playing a shooting game and then you see that there's an option to buy 2 pistols in any game, you're like, oh, these suck. These are not good. It's the opposite here in Battle Aces.
Yep.
So this base should be going down. The mortar's going to be hammering away at it, and I don't think the recalls have any real way to kind of get in there and reach it and punish. Trigger on 2 bases is on a rampage right now, about to push Parting onto 1.
And how about 0? That's a GG. Trigger bringing it to Parting 3-1 so far.
Young Trigger taking out
old Parting.
Old bad knees Parting. Wow. Gotta say, I'm kind of stunned.
Speechless even.
I thought that for sure Parting would be in the finals.
Yeah. I think that's just something that
the
we
world
expect.
is changing.
I mean, that was like when we were at the Stormgate event, too, and we were just like, yeah, Parting's just going to be in the finals, and then he wasn't.
He was not!
And then Probe won the whole thing. And
That's
we're like,
right.
What? Trigger is the Probe of Battle Aces.
Seems like it. Parting, he's not out yet, but he is close. And I got to say, Trigger is making miracles happen here off, like, very low base counts.
Yeah.
Parting was on 4 bases for a long time, and it felt like too long. But Trigger kind of knew where to go. We've also seen a couple flubs here from Parting. 2 base to 2 base right now. Nobody doing a 1 base cheese. It is Blink. Sorry. Yeah, not Recall Wasp, but Blink Wasp.
Yep.
Versus Blink Hunter. So if I understand this correctly, I think this is pretty good for Parting. It seems like you should be able to both make a couple Blinks and then have these Wasps that come out and kind of tank damage and push in that way.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm kind of wanting to try this out myself. I've really never experimented with the double core unit openings. Like I've always had an anti-air.
That's exactly. We're like these middle of the bell curve gamers. Where I'm like, well, no, you need anti-air and something to fight the ground.
Yes,
and they're like
double core.
Yeah, and he's either the guy on one side of the bell curve or the other that's Going Wasp recall good.
Yeah.
Now, in this game, you know, like any game where you see Wasps, the other player has to kind of stay in between the entrance of the second base and the first base. In this case, Parting goes for a dive, and he's going to be able to take out at least 2 patches worth of workers, maybe even 3. It will be at the cost of literally all the Wasps, I think, because the body blocking was so good by Trigger that he literally, like, basically ping-ponged the Wasps all the way from the bottom and then out through the top.
Yeah, that was a very nice blink from Trigger to be able to block a lot of those. The third base, again, of course, doesn't really get too much damage. Wasps are not very good at that, so the blinks now coming on in for Parting to round this out just a little bit, and we'll see how the engagement starts to swing now that he's got these in the mix as well. They're going to be a little bit better against those bases. He's trying to use the Wasps over on the right side, but Trigger, well positioned, will be able to defend both fronts.
Okay. A little bit more tension building up out here in the middle of the map. A nice moment to have a counterattack if Trigger moves. He's not. He's basically running the clock here. We've got the tech inbound here. Sorry, what is the name of this unit again? Here, this one?
Heavy Hunter.
Heavy Hunter, thank you. This was a unit that was nerfed earlier on, and frankly hadn't really messed with it that much, but it's interesting to see Parting use it. He's the only guy who's really been putting this unit in his deck at all.
Yeah.
Granted, there's units we haven't seen at all either, but it's funny to see, you know, which units are absolutely commonplace and which ones are almost non-existent.
Yeah, so we're going to have double Foundries coming out for both players, as the Mortar Destroyer is going to be the play for Trigger. And I think that's going to be pretty decent. Actually, I wonder if Parting's even... He's been liking the double techs going into like cap buses and stuff like that. I wonder if he's going to try to go into assault bots, because it seems like they are pretty decent versus destroyers, which is the overall weakness of Crusaders, which are good against the mortars. So I'm curious how this ends up getting. Yep, and it's an instant assault bot transition.
Wow. Okay. So teching to tier 2, right into tier 3. Oh!
That was a crazy blink.
Big blink in there. He's going to regroup back at the third. The Crusaders are here. The Wasps are countering.
How good are these Crusaders going to be at defending the blinks? And
Destroyers, it's 2 shots to kill a Crusader, right?
I believe that is true. I don't see them very often, so I
don't
can't
feel like these
test
Crusaders
myself.
have any role right now, then.
Yeah, they're mostly just to have a beefy line against the mortars. But,
yeah.
I mean, again, Mortar Destroyer is such an insane composition. To having them at the Destroyers at the front makes it so hard to just walk in with with the big melee units. But basically, it's just kind of delaying. They're just trying to buy as much time as possible. He's threatening an attack and making it a little bit more difficult for a Trigger to just walk across the map. Unfortunately, he finally has made his way, but that is when the Assault Bot tech has finally made it. We're even going for a backstab, trying to get some of these mortars on the back end here with all of his units, and then getting enough Assault Bots out on the other side. But we haven't quite started making them as Parting just yet.
Again, you got to stay away from those Destroyers. They will completely wreck the Crusaders. He's going to come in again, eat some more shots. It just seems like Trigger's pushing Parting away in 2 different directions. And by the way, that third base is gone for Parting. I think it was targeted by the Destroyers.
Yeah, the army was able to demelt it pretty quickly. Now we do have the Assault Bots in the mix. We'll see how these end up doing. Don't get to see these units very much either in these engagements.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Oh.
Look at them go.
No. Well, you know what? I think that it's actually not going to matter.
Yeah.
I think mortars are pretty good.
Mortars are very good.
Look at this. Trigger is on 5 bases.
Jesus.
That's all the bases you can take in this game, chat. Ooh,
Well,
GG.
Trigger with the upset, and then Parting throws down the more lessons learned. Wow. Honorable in defeat. Would you look at that?
Look at that. We've got us finals, guys. This will be Percival versus Trigger.
Nice.
This is the wait a minute, am I in the right timeline?
Yeah,
tournament?
yeah.
I thought it was going to be Theory Parting in the finals. No. Trigger, Percival. Both these guys played really well. It is undeniable that they have completely earned this spot in the finals. Do you think there's one player who's likely to take it over the other?
I mean, both players kind of wiped their series, right?
Yeah.
Like, Percival absolutely mopped Theory. Trigger, I think, first was a little closer versus Parting overall, but still overwhelmingly seeming much more in control. So usually, isn't it the rule that if both semis are total one-sided sweeps, then the finals are supposed to be an absolute banger?
That is the rule. That's how the universe works.
It never is any different.
It's
than
never
that.
any different. That's
Yes.
why we're here. We know these things. Guys, check out my merch site, tastelessthreads.com.